Tens of tons of specialized equipment transform these rolling fortresses into vehicles designed to redefine every existing concept of industrial scale, mechanical power, and off-road endurance. Why is it impossible for standard transport to survive even 5 minutes in such extreme environments? While common machinery fails, these giants are engineered specifically to cross endless deserts, navigate shifting sand dunes, and withstand scorching temperatures that would destroy ordinary cooling systems. They carry out silent, critical missions in the most remote and harshest regions on Earth, yet they remain machines that few people have ever heard of in a technical context. The process of desert transit involves hauling immense loads of cargo across terrain where no infrastructure exists. This requirement serves a dual purpose, supporting both high-stakes civilian expeditions and the most complex military operations currently active. But this is just the beginning. One can notice how these true giants rule the world's most inhospitable sand seas with absolute mechanical dominance. The journey through the history and engineering of the largest off-road desert expedition trucks ever constructed reveals specialized platforms that often exist outside public knowledge. At first glance, a vehicle like the Tatra 815 8x8 might not appear to be an exceptional engineering feat. It only looks obvious until one examines the unique structural requirements for crossing a deep desert. Czechoslovakia served as the origin for this heavy military platform, which quickly established itself as a legendary example of reliability in hostile environments. The truck is powered by a massive 19-liter V12 diesel engine. This power plant produces a range between 360 and 400 horsepower, while generating over 1,800 Newton-meters of torque. Such high torque is a physical necessity to ensure the wheels can power through deep sand dunes even when the chassis is fully loaded to its maximum capacity. Everything only gets more complicated as the load increases. The equipment gradually maintains a top speed of approximately 60 miles per hour. This velocity is more than sufficient for sustaining long-distance transit across desolate territories where fuel and water are scarce. Transition to the next level of heavy transport reveals even larger configurations. The vehicle at the absolute top of this technical hierarchy is colossal in its physical dimensions. It serves a specific industrial purpose that remains entirely unique in the world of heavy logistics. One can notice how the frame flexes to absorb the uneven pressure of the dunes, while the cooling systems work at peak capacity to dissipate the intense heat from the engine block. The transformation of raw power into movement continues as the metal reaches its destination. Thus, the steel and rubber components conclude this phase of the transit, opening the road to the next stage of the expedition. 8x8 all-wheel drive and precise weight distribution allow this machine to maintain stability on highly uneven ground. Why is this specific wheel configuration necessary for heavy transport? It would seem that standard traction might suffice for flat surfaces, but in loose sand and rocky terrain, the system prevents the vehicle from sinking or losing momentum. This engineering makes the platform ideal for navigating rocky deserts, deep craters, and environments with almost zero grip. But this is just the beginning. The driver maintains total control through a 10-speed manual gearbox equipped with a reducer. Such mechanical precision is essential in remote areas where roads do not exist and external support is unavailable. One can notice how the high ground clearance and wide off-road tires allow the chassis to clear obstacles that would stop other vehicles. The boxy front end and rugged exterior design emphasize that the machine was built to go where others cannot. It only looks obvious that a truck should be durable, but in reality, the Tatra 815 has proven its endurance in scientific and military expeditions across the Sahara, the Gobi Desert, and the arid regions of Mongolia. Civilian versions of the chassis undergo modification for geological exploration by attaching livable modules directly to the rear bed. The equipment gradually moves through the most isolated sections of the planet. One notable expedition in the 1990s utilized a Tatra 815 to achieve a full crossing of the Kalahari Desert. The vehicle completed the entire journey through extreme sand, intense heat, and total isolation without a single mechanical failure. And this is not the limit. If desert dominance were only about brute force, this machine proves that smart engineering and physical endurance are just as crucial for survival. Everything only gets more complicated when the weight of the cargo increases to include heavy armor. The next vehicle takes raw power to a higher level, designed to carry actual tanks across alien-like terrain. 700 horsepower and over 3,100 Newton-meters of torque. are produced by the 18-liter Caterpillar C18 engine housed under the hood of the Oshkosh M1070 HEMTT. The desert environment does not tolerate mistakes, presenting challenges such as blistering heat, poor visibility, and unstable sand. At first glance, the task of transporting an M1 Abrams tank seems impossible, but this truck was engineered for exactly that purpose. It is visible how the massive frame supports loads that would crush a standard transport. The process is only gaining momentum as the truck enters soft dunes and dry riverbeds. This immense power allows the unit to haul up to 70 tons even across the most difficult desert zones. When fully loaded, the vehicle can reach speeds of 50 miles per hour, and when traveling empty, it maintains the capacity to pull 70 tons of weight behind it. The camera glides along the reinforced axles that distribute the massive pressure of the tank across the sand. This capability ensures that heavy military equipment reaches its destination regardless of the environmental resistance. The metal and rubber work in unison to overcome the friction of the desert floor, concluding this phase of heavy transport. 7-speed automatic transmissions are electronically managed to ensure that the operator maintains a constant focus on the surrounding desert environment rather than manual gear synchronization. Why is such a complex shifting system integrated into a heavy logistics vehicle? While the mechanical load is immense, the automation prevents engine stall on steep inclines and ensures the power delivery remains uninterrupted. This specific configuration provides excellent stability even when the terrain reaches extreme angles of inclination. The equipment gradually moves across the dunes, appearing as though it belongs on a modern battlefield. 100% of the structural design, including the raised cabin, the reinforced steel frame, and the extended trailer platform, transforms the vehicle into a desert logistics powerhouse. A lesser-known fact is that civilian versions of the M1070 exist for the most extreme industrial missions. In the year 2003, one such unit supported the construction of a remote research station deep within the Sahara. It transported massive generators, thousands of liters of water, and entire shelter modules over 750 miles of unpaved, shifting sand. Performance in the deserts of Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and the Sahel has solidified its reputation as the primary choice for transporting massive loads where formal roads do not exist. But this is just the beginning. The process is only gaining momentum as engineering requirements for desert survival evolve. One can notice how the next machine proves that mobility and versatility are just as critical as raw power when navigating the heat. 8x8 is the drive configuration of the Oshkosh HEMTT, a vehicle that rivals almost any other in terms of multifunctional capability. Originally engineered for military logistics, the HEMTT transitioned into a preferred platform for off-road missions in the harshest desert conditions on the planet. It is not merely a heavy hauler, it functions as a mobile repair shop, a refueling station, and a recovery tow vehicle. At first glance, the machine seems built for a single purpose, but in reality, its modular nature allows it to adapt to any logistical crisis. The powertrain consists of a Detroit diesel 8V92TA, a 12-liter V8 engine. This mechanical heart produces 445 horsepower and 1,700 Newton-meters of torque. Everything only gets more complicated when the payload is added. 11 tons is the maximum weight the vehicle carries through rough terrain, despite its own heavy-duty structural mass. The camera glides along the reinforced independent suspension as it compresses under the load. While it reaches a top speed of approximately 62 miles per hour, its true engineering strength is found in its consistency under heavy stress. The 8x8 drivetrain powers through deep sand, sharp rocky inclines, and the dry riverbeds common in the Sahara or the Sinai. It is visible how the automatic transmission functions to reduce driver fatigue during missions that last for dozens of hours without a break. This concludes the assessment of the primary heavy transport platforms currently dominating the desert landscape. 100% custom-built motorhomes based on this heavy platform have successfully crossed the most unforgiving environments on the planet, including the Namib Desert and the rugged Australian outback. Why do hardcore overlanders choose such massive industrial machinery for personal expeditions? At first glance, using a military-grade logistics vehicle for travel seems excessive, but the requirements of deep desert isolation demand a level of self-sufficiency that only a heavy-duty chassis can provide. These mobile bases are outfitted with extensive solar arrays, massive secondary fuel reservoirs, and reinforced living quarters that allow teams to remain completely isolated from civilization for several consecutive weeks. It gets more complex further on. The trucks operate as mobile hubs for major cinematic productions, transporting high-value equipment into remote desert filming locations where standard logistics would fail. One can notice how the heavy axles maintain stability even when the cargo bed is loaded to its maximum limit with sensitive gear. But this is just the beginning. The reliability of the platform in these extreme conditions serves as a final testament to its engineering before moving to an even more capable configuration of driven wheels. 10 driven wheels define the mechanical architecture of the next level of heavy mobility, making the concept of becoming stuck almost physically impossible. The Oshkosh M1074 palletized load system stands as a desert titan featuring a full-time 10x10 traction system across all 5 of its axles. Designed for the independent hauling of massive weights, this machine serves as the primary solution for operations that demand both raw brute force and high mechanical adaptability. Everything only gets more complicated when examining the power plant. A 15.2-liter Caterpillar C15 engine sits at the heart of the chassis, generating 600 horsepower and more than 2,500 Newton-meters of torque. Even when carrying a full 20-ton payload, the vehicle maintains a constant velocity of up to 56 miles per hour across open, ungraded terrain. One can notice how the truck maintains its momentum despite the resistance of the ground beneath its massive tires. It only looks obvious to move at such speeds, but for a vehicle of this scale, it remains a rare technical feat. Why is the load handling system considered a critical advantage for remote exploration? The equipment gradually deploys a hydraulic arm that allows the truck to load or unload standard shipping containers without the assistance of external cranes or support vehicles. For logistics missions where self-reliance is the only option, this integrated capability changes the entire operational dynamic of the expedition. The process is only gaining momentum as the vehicle moves into more difficult topographical zones. The 10x10 drivetrain works in perfect synchronization with an adjustable hydro-pneumatic suspension system to guarantee maximum grip on loose sand, jagged rocky trails, and steep slopes. It is visible how the chassis remains level while the wheels move independently to maintain contact with the uneven surface. The M1074 does not simply traverse the terrain, it physically adapts to the geometry of the ground in real time. These machines have proven their endurance during full Sahara desert crossings and complex humanitarian missions in the most inaccessible regions of the globe. Scientists and researchers continue to rely on the platform to reach coordinates that remain unreachable for any other class of logistical transport. The heavy transport system completes its task, leaving the load exactly where the mission requires. 540 horsepower is the output generated by the 12.4-liter engine propelling the Unicat N95H across the most challenging landscapes on the planet. Why would a vehicle require such immense mechanical force combined with an 8x8 drive system? While a standard off-road vehicle might navigate a trail, this machine is designed for total self-sufficiency in regions where survival depends entirely on onboard resources. But this is just the beginning. The foundation of this expedition platform is the MAN TGS chassis, a specialized frame engineered to endure the torsional stress of shifting dunes and jagged mountain passes. It is visible how the 8x8 all-wheel drive system distributes torque to every wheel, ensuring the vehicle does not lose momentum in deep silt. The drivetrain operates through a 12-speed automated gearbox equipped with electronic management that calculates gear shifts with millisecond precision to account for extreme heat and high load. Differential locks can be engaged to synchronize wheel rotation, while an integrated tire pressure management system allows the driver to adjust the contact patch of the tires without leaving the cabin. This is a critical technical necessity when transitioning from sharp, rocky riverbeds to the soft, unstable surfaces of the Sahara or the Gobi Desert. Everything only gets more complicated as the weight of the living module is factored into the physics of movement. One can notice the steady rise and fall of the auto-leveling stabilizers as they extend to compensate for uneven or sloped terrain during a halt. This modular cabin is not merely a shelter, but a sophisticated survival base that maintains a pressurized environment. Inside, the equipment includes a high-output solar array and a desalination unit capable of converting brackish sources into potable liquid. The interior volume accommodates a full-scale kitchen, king-size sleeping quarters, and air conditioning systems that regulate the internal climate against external desert temperatures. Fresh water tanks are integrated into the lower chassis to maintain a low center of gravity, and this is not the limit. The equipment gradually manages energy through an auxiliary generator that supports the batteries when solar input is insufficient. For mechanical maintenance in remote zones, the unit features an integrated workshop and satellite communication arrays to maintain contact with the outside world. Scientists, documentarians, and elite explorers utilize these machines to remain off-grid for several consecutive weeks. At first glance, it seems like a luxury motorhome, but in reality, it is a high-performance laboratory and fortress. One specific unit demonstrated this capability by traversing over 2,500 miles from Egypt to Morocco. During this journey, the crew stopped only for fuel, as all water, electricity, food storage, and shelter were managed entirely by the internal systems. The camera glides along the reinforced exterior where specialized recovery gear and spare components are mounted for immediate access. The brand serves a niche of wealthy adventurers and researchers who require maximum autonomy in the most unforgiving environments like Namibia. With 2,400 Newton-meters of torque available, the truck overcomes obstacles that would halt any conventional transport. The process of long-range exploration is only gaining momentum as technology allows for further reach into the unknown. The vehicle completes its deployment, providing a stable and secure environment in the heart of the wilderness. 8x8 is the wheel configuration that defines the heavy-duty capabilities of the Mayen HX81. Why was such a massive platform developed for the most unforgiving environments on the planet? It would seem that a standard heavy truck could navigate off-road paths with enough power. But without a dedicated military-grade architecture, a vehicle would simply sink into the shifting sands or succumb to the mechanical stress of hauling massive loads through the heat of the desert. The power originates from a 20-liter MAN-D 2868 V8 engine. This unit generates 730 horsepower and delivers more than 3,000 Newton-meters of torque to the wheels. It is visible how the cooling systems must work at maximum capacity, as the truck is engineered to operate in environments where temperatures frequently exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. But this is just the beginning. The 12-speed automatic transmission is managed by electronic systems that optimize performance when traction is at its lowest. 130 tons represents the total cargo capacity this German-engineered machine can transport across roadless terrain. The drivetrain distributes power to all 8 wheels simultaneously to ensure constant forward momentum. It is visible how the hydro-pneumatic suspension absorbs the uneven impact of rocky outcrops while maintaining a stable platform for the load. At first glance, the truck appears to be a singular, rigid entity, but in reality, the tire pressure control system allows for constant adaptation. The driver can reduce pressure to increase the contact patch on loose dunes or inflate the tires for higher speeds on gravel roads. The process is only gaining momentum as the vehicle transitions from dry valleys to steep inclines. The modular rear platform is designed for pure functionality, allowing the mounting of fuel tanks, shipping containers, or heavy armored vehicles. Geological and scientific missions now utilize this platform far beyond its original military intent. 500 miles of roadless territory were conquered during a notable German archaeological expedition in Libya. The camera glides along the rugged front end and the reinforced chassis which protected the sensitive excavation gear throughout the journey. The equipment gradually maneuvers through sand and stone where conventional logistics would fail. The HX81 maintains its pace regardless of the surface composition or the weight of the specialized equipment. Transition to the next level of transport is achieved through this combination of high ground clearance and raw mechanical endurance. The vehicle completes its transit across the desert landscape, delivering its heavy cargo to the destination without haste. 8 wheels and 8-wheel drive. This is the structural foundation of the Desert Challenger as it traverses the scorching Sahara. Why would an expedition vehicle require such an immense footprint and mechanical complexity? One might assume a standard truck could navigate the dunes, but without this specific 8x8 configuration, the weight of a luxury residence would sink instantly into the shifting sands. The Austrian company Action Mobile engineered this machine on a specialized man chassis to function as a self-sustaining ecosystem. 540 horsepower is generated by the massive 12.4-liter engine, providing the necessary force to move the heavy structure across unforgiving terrain. The power unit produces approximately 2,500 Newton-meters of torque, allowing the vehicle to maintain momentum even when climbing steep dunes. At first glance, the truck appears to be a heavy industrial machine, but in reality, it handles the landscape with the grace of a yacht on open water. It is visible how the adjustable air suspension reacts to every bump, neutralizing shocks before they reach the living quarters. Everything only gets more complicated as the truck transitions from hard-packed soil to soft, deep sand. The onboard tire pressure regulation system operates ceaselessly to adjust the contact patch of the massive rubber tires. Simultaneously, the automated transmission and differential locks engage to ensure that power is distributed evenly to all 8 wheels without interruption. One can notice the equipment gradually compensating for the loss of traction as the truck maintains a steady speed of over 68 miles per hour. This technical precision allows for a smooth ride where other vehicles would be immobilized by the heat-cracked earth. The process is only gaining momentum once the expedition reaches its destination and the off-grid systems activate. Inside the reinforced shell, a gourmet kitchen and a panoramic lounge provide an environment that stands in stark contrast to the exterior heat. Because the Desert Challenger is equipped with high-capacity solar panels and an integrated water purification system, it can remain completely independent from civilization for up to 3 weeks. The camera glides along the interior surfaces, revealing a built-in workshop and satellite internet hardware that transform the living space into a mobile command center. It does not end at this stage, as the vehicle also features a full bathroom and a king-size bed for maximum recovery during long-haul missions. Therefore, global organizations and film crews, including those from the BBC, have utilized this platform for operations in the Atacama Desert and remote Middle Eastern regions. One can notice how the truck serves as a vital hub in areas where no physical infrastructure exists, providing a stable base for experts and enthusiasts alike. It only looks obvious to describe this as a luxury for the wealthy, but in reality, many dedicated overland travelers have adopted this lifestyle to spend months in the most isolated plains on Earth. The Desert Challenger demonstrates that extreme environmental conditions do not necessitate the abandonment of comfort or technical capability. The metal and glass structure stands firm against the wind, concluding its role as a sanctuary in the wilderness. From here, the narrative shifts toward a different category of engineering, focusing on a machine built for raw survival rather than luxury. 8x8. These are the drive specifications of the MAN Cat A1, a vehicle that has established itself as a definitive icon within the specialized world of military and expeditionary heavy machinery. Developed in West Germany during the 1970s, this platform earned a global reputation that intensified over several decades due to its unwavering operational reliability. It is visible how the chassis maintains structural integrity even under the most punishing environmental stresses. But why did this specific model become the standard for desert traversal when so many others failed? One might assume that raw power is the only requirement for sand, but in reality, the harsh climate of the Sahara or the Gobi demands a mechanical simplicity that eliminates complex failure points. The truck is powered by a 12-liter V8 diesel engine. This power plant generates 360 horsepower and approximately 1,700 Newton-meters of torque. While these specific figures might appear modest when compared to the technical data of more modern heavy-duty trucks, the engineering value of the A1 lies in its bulletproof mechanical architecture. It was not designed to generate impressive statistics on a specification sheet, but rather to function continuously in conditions where maintenance is impossible. One can notice the deliberate absence of sensitive electronic components in the drivetrain. But this is just the beginning. The vehicle utilizes an 8-speed manual transmission equipped with dedicated low-range gears to navigate high-resistance surfaces. This system works in conjunction with a permanent 8x8 traction layout featuring manual locking differentials on all axles. To manage vertical displacement over uneven ground, the engineers installed a long-travel coil spring suspension system. This specific configuration allows the wheels to maintain contact with the surface in soft dunes, deep quicksand, and highly unstable terrain. Everything only gets more complicated when the weight of a full expedition load is added to the frame. The exterior of the truck is defined by its tall, robust cab and oversized tires designed for low-pressure operation. It only looks obvious that such a heavy machine would sink, but in reality, the wide footprint of the tires distributes the weight evenly across the sand. The modular nature of the body has allowed for various adaptations, including the installation of habitation modules for long-distance travel. Some of these modified units have successfully crossed the entirety of the Gobi Desert and have even competed in the grueling Africa Eco Race. The process of proving its endurance is only gaining momentum. One of the most famous operational milestones for the platform occurred during a civilian-led expedition traveling from Morocco to Chad. The journey covered over 1,500 miles of intense sandstorms, extreme heat reaching over 120 degrees, and sharp, rocky trails. The entire distance was completed without a single major mechanical failure reported by the crew. It is visible how the cooling system manages the thermal load, even when the air is thick with fine dust. Transition to the next level. The following vehicle in the sequence represents an even rarer category of desert engineering. It moves beyond the standards of traditional transport to become a specialized heavy-lift beast designed specifically for the most remote regions of the planet. It looks like something from a different era of industrial design. 600 horsepower is the output generated by the massive 19-liter Cummins engine hidden beneath the heavy hood of the Kenworth 963. Why did the American manufacturer, usually associated with polished chrome and smooth interstate highways, decide to build such a specialized machine in the 1980s? At first glance, the brand focuses on traditional logistics, but in reality, the demand for extreme transport contracts in the Middle East necessitated a radical departure from standard engineering. This desert-exclusive heavy-duty monster was specifically engineered to dominate the unforgiving landscapes of Saudi Arabia. The process of creating this vehicle began with a complete structural overhaul. Engineers integrated a custom-built 6x6 drivetrain and an 18-speed manual gearbox to manage over 2,500 Newton-meters of torque. These components work in unison with reinforced axles designed to withstand the brutal mechanical stress of shifting sands. One can notice how the forward-set cab sits high above the ground, providing the operator with a specialized vantage point for navigating terrain where formal roads simply do not exist. But this is just the beginning. High-mounted air intakes draw oxygen from above the thickest layers of surface dust, while specialized filters strip away fine desert particles that would otherwise destroy a standard engine. It is visible how the cooling system, oversized and reinforced for extreme heat, manages internal temperatures even when the external environment exceeds 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The equipment gradually overcomes the resistance of deep dunes while hauling trailers that weigh over 50 tons. Everything only gets more complicated when these machines enter the heart of the oil fields. Hauling massive drilling rigs through remote regions requires absolute mechanical reliability because there is no support and no margin for failure in the deep desert. Some units were reported to have operated non-stop for more than 15 days under the relentless glare of the sun. The camera glides along the rugged chassis that allowed these trucks to serve as the primary lifeline for logistics in areas entirely devoid of infrastructure. And this is not the limit of its endurance. Today, the scarcity of the Kenworth 963 has transformed it into a legend among heavy machinery enthusiasts. Only a few original units remain in existence, making them highly sought after by dedicated collectors and restorers around the globe. It is visible how the truck steals the spotlight when it appears at industrial expos, functioning as a rolling relic from an era of uncompromising mechanical ambition. The transition to the next level of heavy transport history reveals even more massive engineering achievements. The legacy of this desert giant concludes here as it takes its place among the most specialized vehicles ever constructed. 16 feet. That is the exact height of the Berliet T100, an off-road titan so immense that a custom road had to be constructed just to facilitate its departure from the factory floor. Why was such a massive machine necessary for transport? While standard vehicles would immediately sink into the shifting Saharan terrain, this mechanical giant was engineered specifically to carry heavy oil equipment across the unforgiving desert sands of Algeria. It seems simple to just build a larger truck, but in reality, Every dimension of this colossus was calculated to survive the Sahara. The vehicle spans 16 feet in width and reaches a length of nearly 50 feet. One can notice how the 6x6 drivetrain allows the power to be distributed evenly across all 6 wheels, each fitted with tires nearly 6 feet tall. These specialized tires act as cushions, allowing the machine to cruise over massive dunes as if they were nothing more than small speed bumps. The process of moving this weight is only gaining momentum. A Cummins V12 diesel engine serves as the heart of the vehicle, generating 600 horsepower. This power plant produces over 2,800 Newton-meters of torque, ensuring that no obstacle can halt its progress. The equipment gradually overcomes the resistance of the sand thanks to an 8-speed manual transmission equipped with dual reduction. This technical configuration provides brute torque across any revolutions per minute range, preventing the engine from stalling under extreme loads. At first glance, such a large engine would consume fuel too quickly for long-distance travel, but in reality, the design accounts for total autonomy. The fuel tank holds 370 gallons of diesel, a necessity for navigating routes where no refueling infrastructure exists. It is visible how the low center of gravity provides surprising stability even when the truck is hauling immense drilling towers or small bulldozers deep into the desert. Transition to the next level. Only 4 units of this model were ever constructed. One can notice the scale of the preserved machine currently on display at the Berliet Museum in France, while the remaining units completed legendary missions in the most extreme environments on Earth. These trucks functioned as engineering solutions for conquering the impossible, maintaining forward momentum regardless of the heat or the height of the dunes. The metal stays balanced on the soft sand as the tires, manufactured specifically for this purpose, prevent the heavy frame from sinking. The Berliet T100 became a symbol of engineering achievement by operating far off the map where standard logistics fail. Each machine was tasked with carrying vital cargo and missions that were previously deemed impossible. The material and mechanical components were pushed to their limits to explore the unknown reaches of the desert. The vehicle completes its historical journey as a testament to specialized industrial design. From here, the legacy of the T100 remains as proof of what can be achieved when machines are built for the most punishing environments.